hold on.
Whatever.
Hold on.
We're rolling.
I didn't know we were going
I'll
that fast.
I'll edit it out.
Okay. I mean,
We'll just go from like a start point. Like I could just redo this and then you just let me know when you're ready.
Do you just want to start it now? Is that what you want?
Sure. It's fine. We'll go through some stuff.
Why do I have like stage fright? Like I don't know what I'm doing all of a sudden.
It doesn't matter. Like we just need to fill an hour of our content with bamboozling.
With bamboozling.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be good. It just
is that
needs
what we
to be
do?
there. Yeah.
Yeah, we can start whenever.
It's all on you.
I thought you were gonna count me down.
Oh, okay. Are you ready?
You don't want to do the intro?
No, I really don't.
Do you want to talk about it?
I don't like structured. Yeah, I'll talk about it.
You don't like structured?
I don't like structured content where like I have to do it. I like it being in place. I don't like doing it.
So you just want to give the talent the things to do.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, you cut my check, so I guess I'll do what you ask.
That's right.
Yeah, we can start whenever.
All right. Well, you just feel free. I'll cut it from wherever it starts.
I want to count down, so I'm like, it's gonna help with the mental.
Okay. Are you ready?
For slightly.
Number 1 million.
Number 3.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Strange Internet Podcast. I am Rob.
And I'm Pat. Welcome back, guys.
And we're back after a 2-week hiatus.
Yeah.
Because Pat is now with child. Well, I guess not with child.
That was a great way to put it. I am now pregnant.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, we'll go through that and then maybe jump back to you and see what you've been up to.
So many things.
So a baby is here, and it was the best worst experience of my life. That's how I could describe it.
Okay.
I will start off with saying that I am as a man am very weak, and watching my wife do what she did, mind blowing, life changing. Like there's no thing you can compare it to. It was a really long process. Like the labor was long, and there was a lot going on with the whole state of healthcare, and everything went from like 0 to 100 for me, because there were a couple like little postpartum issues that women go through, and I don't think I was prepared for that at all, because it went from like me being like, okay, we have all these things that we, got from family and friends that were super generous, and we feel prepared to have the baby and everything. And I didn't realize going into it that it was like I was going to take care of that baby for the first 48 to 72 hours of its life, because my wife was under these circumstances where like she was being medically watched, and she couldn't help, she couldn't like get up and move and do all these things that you kind of expect in a marriage, when it's like, hey, we're teammates and we're gonna work on this together. And that's kind of the way that you go into having a baby. So it was like I went from limited experience of like, maybe I held my niece and nephew 10 years ago, to like, okay, now you're doing everything from feeding to changing to all of these things from a experience point of 0, and then having to do that for 72 hours without sleeping, essentially, because the baby needs to be fed every 2 hours and all of these things that like going into it, I guess I didn't do my research enough to I kind of put it on my wife to just like kind of inform me and go through all the
Sure.
process, because it's
Yeah.
mostly, I don't know, when in a state of pregnancy, like she's doing all the work to
Right.
create the baby. But yeah, I mean, it was eye opening about just the kind of state of healthcare. Like, God, I mean,
Mm.
we had such a nice outcome and everything was perfect, but I could only imagine if people are going through a really tough illness, that like these hospitals are just desecrated. Like, I think the staff was like supposed to be like a 1-to-1, where it was like one nurse to each mother and baby,
Hmm.
and it was like a 3-to-1, where like they had like 6 patients and they were like running around doing all this stuff. Like, you barely see the nurse. So that was the other thing. It was like, if you had questions or concerns about something, I was like the interface. And thank God I had witnessed a couple births while I was working in medicine before, and kind of knew what was up, because otherwise I feel like I would have been in a really, really tough spot. But as far as the baby, he's great. I mean, love it. It's been a ton of fun. I mean, just like stinky, pukey, whiny, everything you could imagine.
Everything you
Um,
wanted.
yeah, but at the end of the day,
Hmm.
you're like, oh, you're cute. I'll keep you.
Hmm.
You know.
Hmm. I'll keep you.
So
As
it
opposed
was,
to.
yeah, it was like a nice kind of turbine of events, and you kind of get out on the other side and you're like, oh wow, I can catch like 4 hours of sleep, and that sounds great. Which I feel like we would have been in that space for a while, but the physical demand of like being scared awake by screams or
I was gonna say, let's not pretend like you get any sleep. So,
yeah, right.
but it's the now it's not an option. It's
Now
non-optional.
it's like I would think like some sort of uh torture of the mind that
Mm,
comes as well as
mm,
the physical issues with not sleeping. Now it's like
got
you
it.
like hear stuff crying and nothing's happening, and you're
Yeah.
like, shocked awake, and that's not something I've been used to. I usually, stay up really late doing all my things, playing video games, working on X, Y, and Z, and then sleeping for 8 hours and it being peaceful and
Yeah.
great.
This
And
week on My Baby Abuses Me.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of the space that we're in. um
Yeah.
so yeah, and then, oh, thank God that we had help, because the pandemic restrictions are tough too right now. You
Are
can
you
have
still
like,
limited to how many family members?
yeah, you can only have one in at a
Hmm.
time, and you have to like trade out if you're
Yeah.
gonna have someone else come in. And then I think it's a 2-person limit total, so you can only, like, you sign someone in, and then they're sick or whatever happens, they can't come, and then you're just stuck with the one person, and you gotta DoorDash or go and lose some time with uh the baby, or your wife or husband, whoever you're with, to
Hmm.
go and get food and do all these things that kind of require or are required to
Multiple. Yeah.
yeah, keep chugging along in the hospital till they let you out,
Right.
and then you can go home. And that was the best feeling, I think, was just like get home, open the door, and just be like, like put my stuff down and not live out of a bag, and
Yeah. Well, it's like a
everyone's safe.
marathon
And
of
yeah.
of anxiety and little
Hmm.
sleep and
Oh
being in a
yeah.
hospital during a pandemic.
I don't know, like, I'm not a very big like crier in any way,
Mm.
shape, or form. Like I could probably count the number of times I've cried, like, um over something in my relationship in the past couple years. Most things have been really happy. But like the second that everything was said and done with the birth and everything, like, I knew the baby was okay. I don't know what happened. It just like fell out of me,
You just
so
started losing it.
yeah, I don't know. It just
I would
happened.
have I would have paid to see that.
Right? I feel
Yeah.
like it was a very great experience to have behind closed doors, where like, no
Hmm.
one's allowed. I was like, perfect. No one can see me cry
Now
like
I
a
can sob.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, people won't see me become the baby.
Hmm. Yeah, crying
But
unexpectedly in front of other people is not exciting
yeah. Yeah.
at all. Well, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You
Thanks.
are now father of
Yeah,
human.
that's true. And, I'm sure
Hmm.
everyone will either see or hear the baby at some point screaming in the background.
Probably this episode.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? But I think
Hmm.
hopefully he'll sleep a little bit. I just fed him before this. So,
Hmm.
what were you up to in the, in the time of our break?
While you were having a baby,
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing nearly as exciting or important at all. Just been working and doing my thing, and yeah, I don't know. We'll see what's going on with that. But I did go to Arizona this past weekend for 2 days, which was interesting. I'd never
Just
been to
for
Arizona.
recreation or
Uh, my friend moved there last year. My company moved like one of the facilities there, and so they moved for work. And so we're also coworkers. And they moved there, and I hadn't seen them since they moved, and they told me about. Well, we're in a group chat with one other friend, and they told us about this gay rodeo in
oh,
Arizona. And all I had to hear was gay rodeo, and I was like instantly
like
enthused.
weird. I bought a ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, I told them, I was like, so we're going.
uh,
And I don't know how serious they thought I was, but I was very serious when I said that, because I actually grew up going to rodeos,
mm,
which may or may not shock anyone, but I in the city that, or the town, I shouldn't say city, the town that my grandparents, my
owned.
grandmother still lives there. Yeah,
Owned.
imagine. My family owns a town.
The
No,
town that they founded,
I mean,
where
basically,
where they did rodeos.
basically. No, but the town that my grandparents live in, or my grandmother still lives there. My grandfather passed, but
Mm,
they have like an annual rodeo. It's very country. It's like in the hills. It's very small population. Everybody has like acres of land, that kind of thing.
mhm.
And so they had like this annual rodeo, and I don't remember why we just started going to them, but I don't know. Suddenly, just one time we started going to them, and
And then it was like family rodeo night. Like you just
yeah, pretty much. Like it wasn't a long period of time, but there were a few years where we would go like annually. But and I'll tell you why it became a thing annually, because after the first one, I don't remember what happened. I was pretty young.
mm,
Um but I guess I thought it was super cool or whatever. I probably made like one comment in passing to my dad of like, "Oh, cool, people riding bulls," you know. And my dad would take anything like that was slightly heteronormative and be like, "Okay,
mm.
so we're gonna have you do
This
that
is the
now."
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess the next year I competed in the rodeo, and
No.
yeah, and like
No.
for a couple years I was in the rodeo. Yeah.
Oh god.
But I was so
How was
young that
that?
there was
What?
limited things that a child could do in a
Oh.
rodeo with animals. But
Right.
basically, there's this event called mutton busting at the rodeo that they had, and it's like
Okay.
bull riding for children. Start them young.
Yeah.
And they have you been to a rodeo before, or have you seen?
Uh, yeah,
I didn't
not
realize
not
how
in recent
strange of an event
years.
this was for people who live in cities, because like,
I'm Yeah, I may have gone to one when I was younger, like just as like
okay,
a this is an exotic thing we're doing on like a family
right.
vacation or
Right.
something. But
We started there.
I have not gone recently enough to know what goes on or
Sure.
yeah, maybe I should dip
So
back
as a
into that realm.
refresher,
Yeah. Mm.
you know, one
Mhm.
step at a time. But basically, so as a refresher, you have like the dirt where everything takes place in the middle, and then
Right,
there's like the stands, which usually just like really cheap ass wood, whatever.
right,
And then there's like the metal gates where they host the like animals.
right.
And so just like the bulls, they would load the sheep up into these like metal Um,
Corrals. Yeah, like
yeah, these
whatever.
little corrals, and then I strictly remember because you have to like wear a vest.
Mhm.
Um, or maybe was I wearing I had to have worn a vest or something. And of course, you have to have your hat on. So I had my hat.
Mhm.
This is my one and only real cowboy hat that I ever had. And I strictly remember my dad lowering me in onto the sheep
Just
via the
by a
vest.
shirt. Oh.
Yeah, imagine like a claw machine.
Mhm.
My
Right.
dad just lowering me in, and he's the claw machine.
Yeah.
And then you have to like hold on to the sheep, and if you're a baddie, you hold one hand up,
Ooh.
or I think you had to hold one hand up. I don't remember. And basically, they would just, I mean, the sheep is like freaking the fuck out because there's a small child on its back, just
Yeah,
like
right.
gripping. And they open the corral, and the sheep just bolts out. And, it's
Mhm.
just like a bull riding, like whoever
Right.
lasts the longest wins. Um, and yeah, I have
That
a
is
few
life.
trophies from that. So
Yeah.
I have limited experience at rodeos, but also the rodeo was like, it was also like an annual fair too. Like I remember there just being,
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe I was just a really small child and I kind of like romanticized everything, but like I just
Mhm.
remember it being a really really big event. But there were definitely like carnival rides and like tons of food vendors and like all kinds of stuff going
Oh,
on.
yeah.
It was a pretty big event. The one that I went to in Arizona, I was very excited because I had those like romanticized dream or memories of this rodeo that I went to as a kid. Not that I'm like obsessed with rodeos, but
Right.
it's just a part of my, I don't want to say culture, but it's just a part of my like history with my family,
Mhm.
which I guess could be considered culture, that I, it's not something that I really invested in. I grew up in a suburb, like it's not like my
Right.
life, but it's a part of my family in a way. So
Mhm.
it's like this weird thing that the older I get, I'm like tapping back into those types of things. Anyways, so I was really psyched because I only have good memories of going to rodeos,
Right.
and my friends had never been to one, and I was super excited about that because I was like, oh fuck, if you've never been to one, this is gonna be wild. Because
Right.
I just, I don't know, it just never like clicked to me that like people have no idea what happens at a rodeo, and people often think really poorly of it because of animal abuse, and I can totally understand that, and I'm not going to disregard that at all. Like it, if that's a whole other story, but it's
Right.
definitely not for the faint of heart when it comes to animals, for sure. But um overall, the rodeo is good fun. And so yeah, it was a much smaller event. I can only assume the like non-gay branded rodeos obviously have a lot more funding, but yeah, it was a pretty small event. But it was super fun, and it was like all day. It wasn't super hot. I think it was like mid 70s. But in Arizona, it felt like, for me coming from the Bay Area, it felt like 100. It
Right.
was hot. Um, and of course, I was wearing all black and stood out like a sore thumb. And
Oof.
yeah, it was a good time. I loved it. I was very intoxicated. Apparently, weed is legal there, so I had a few joints, so that was lovely. There was like drag shows happening in like the inside venue while everything was happening. And my friends had a good time. They're like, "Oh my god, rodeos are so fun." I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, I
they're pretty
told you
lit."
so. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, we should definitely go to another one." I was like, "Yes, I'm down." And then yeah, I popped around a few other places in Phoenix. I didn't really do anything crazy. It was mostly just like catching up, hanging out with my friends. I went to this crazy ass restaurant called Sumo Maya. It's not
Mhm.
in Phoenix proper, but like it's kind of like LA, like everybody just calls everything Phoenix, I guess.
Right.
But it's in like a nearby town in like the like wealthier area, and it's this restaurant that I guess everybody there told my friend to go to. And you get there, and it's like in this like strip mall type situation where it's just like a large parking lot with businesses.
Mhm.
So like the setup of the buildings kind of reminded me of like where an Olive Garden would be. um but this
Nice.
was like a $3 or $4 sign restaurant, so I don't know what was going on. And then
Mhm.
they had this like weird makeshift valet with like tape cutting it off. It was very strange. It was like an effort to make something so bougie in the middle of the desert, and
Right.
it was very strange.
In the
And
middle of the strip mall. Like,
yeah, and then from the outside, usually,
oh, wow.
and there's like people with varying degrees of dressing up outside.
Mhm.
And we get inside, and like right next to the host section, or like where you check in or whatever for your reservation, there's
Right.
a DJ right next to the
Ooh.
host. And that's the first thing I saw was the DJ. Like I walked into a restaurant and I see a DJ who's just like going in, and I instantly, my first thought was, what the fuck is this? Like I had
Right.
no idea what the fuck this was.
He's like, "What kind of food
And
am I gonna get here?"
well, so we'll get to the food. Hold on. That's the other part of the experience.
Yeah.
Um, and then we check in with the host, and we were there like 15 minutes early. We ended up waiting like another 30 minutes or so. And the front section, like I guess you could call it a lobby. It really wasn't. It was a door and a desk. Like that's all it was. And apparently, to get to the bathroom, you have to walk from the dining room through that section to get to the bathroom. So they're like super backed up because they're not flipping tables fast enough, I guess. And
Mm.
the whole lobby section was just full of people. And oh, I would like to talk about the non-mask mandate, or the
Ooh.
non-mandate in Arizona. Apparently, this is just what my friend told me, but apparently it's illegal to have any sort of mandate in Arizona. Like Arizona as a state has declared that. So there were no masks, and they're just like covered in people in this lobby. And again, varying degrees of dressed up. Like some
Mhm.
people were wearing like club dresses and like heels, and some people were wearing like sneakers and like a sweater. It was very confusing. And then in the middle of that clusterfuck, there's like people walking from the dining space to the bathroom, like shoving and pushing. It was kind of like a club. It
Yeah.
was dark, couldn't see anything. And then like in the dining space, there's like, and it's an enclosed building, there's these giant trees with like lights on them. It was kind of wild. Um and then eventually we get seated and we order the food, and the appetizers were like whatever. The food was Mexican Asian fusion. And every time I hear fusion, I get a little worried, but every time I
Yeah.
hear Asian fusion, you can always expect some sort of like take on a sushi roll.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what they specialized in. So, the rolls were like super subpar for me. My friends liked them. I was very bored. I did not like them at all. And then the
Mhm.
appetizer was some really awful take on plantains, which like really upset me because plantains are really hard to fuck up in my opinion, and they
Mhm.
put balsamic vinaigrette on them, and I was very upset. I was
The
not into
what?
it. Yeah. And the whole time we're having dinner, it's like it's the music is banging.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's so loud and dark. And so you can't have
That's
a
miserable.
conversation. So we didn't
Yeah.
really talk that much. And to talk, we were like yelling at each other the whole time. Same with the server too.
Yeah.
And then as I'm like looking around, there's like people in gowns, there's people in like sequin dresses, and like some guys are wearing suits. And then I look at the bar and I saw someone in like a sweatsuit. I didn't know what was going on. And then I
Yeah.
can only imagine what it's like to have a date there. I don't know.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
very strange. It was kind of a
It
nightmare,
sounds
but
horrible. It
it
sounds like
was
somewhere I would
terrible.
never wanna go.
Yeah, I would absolutely not recommend going to Sumamaya if you're ever in Arizona and thinking about
And
having
there's
dinner.
his Yelp review.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't understand the concept, and I felt like
Mhm.
the theme was kind of a confusing. Um, but yeah, it was quite the experience. It wasn't a memorable experience though. I will say that. Like I will give it the credit of um I definitely will remember that experience and tell people about it multiple times over. But it's just this weird thing that I noticed when I was in Phoenix, where it's kind of this weird like Vegasy crowd meets
Mhm.
like this weird like LA crowd. I don't know. I couldn't explain it. I only spent 2 days there, so I didn't really get a good feel for it. But I understand why people would live there.
Mhm.
I am just not one of those people. So
And that was your first
that's my
time in
take on
Arizona?
Phoenix. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't do any of the, like, fun Arizona stuff? Like,
Nope, didn't do anything
you didn't
fun.
go to
Not at
any,
all.
like, mines or go out in the
No.
desert, see some cacti or,
I mean, I
you
was
know.
in the desert. The whole fucking place is the desert.
Yeah, but I just mean, like, touristy stuff.
I saw cacti in the garden where I had brunch. Does that count?
Yeah. Yeah, that counts. No, the last time, me and my wife were there, we went to Scottsdale,
Mm,
and,
I
there
I
was
have it
this
around there.
incredible storm there. Um,
Mm.
it's like one of those vacations that was like a bit miserable, but like you
Mhm.
had to find the silver lining in it. Like we had a couple,
Yep. I've been
portions of the
there.
day of sunshine and 110-degree, weather, and then like this flood essentially came in. We had like the flood blockers on the door. There's water coming through the
What the
ceiling. Like,
fuck?
yeah, it was just like something that was pretty normal for that season. Like, I think they have like a monsoon season where it like rains just a couple weeks of the year. I think it was August or
Oh my
July, maybe.
god. So it's
But it was
hot
such,
and rainy. That's a
yeah,
fun combo.
yeah, and like the sand
Okay.
is so loose that it just turns into like these flash floods. Um,
Wow.
but I've been there a couple times. My brother lived there for a long time. Um, but we did all the fun touristy things, like go
Hmm.
down into a gold mine and eat rattlesnake, and like the things that Arizona people do.
Yeah,
Not to
I'm sure
generalize in any
Arizona
way.
people do that all the time. Yeah.
No, not at all.
That
Not at
definitely
all.
was
But
not the vibe I got,
yeah.
but
But yeah, and then we went out like um to kind of like a row of bars that they have, and it's
at the
really
strip
nice
mall.
there when you yeah, pretty much we went to a mall. Like
Yeah.
there's only so much you can do when it's that hot,
Yeah.
and it's a great atmosphere, I think, because it doesn't feel deadly. Like there's those like
Yeah.
misters going off and all the different bars that you're
Yeah,
hopping
yeah,
to, and
yeah.
it's just like a fun experience, something to do that you might not see in other states. But yeah, the masks, that's that's kind of how it was when we were there.
Non-existent. It
When we
was
were there mid
wild.
pandemic, was just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're like fine if you kind of fake it till you make it with the masks, and I'm like, that's a little uncomfortable, but not my
I
mandate.
did not see a single one
Yeah.
anywhere. It was wild. It
Mm.
like I saw so like employees still have to wear them.
Mm.
Well, I guess it depends on where where you're employed.
Well,
Because like some I would say majority of employees were wearing them. Um I definitely saw like one interaction where an employee didn't want to wear it and he like
mhm.
argued with the manager in front of me about it. It was like I had just gotten there too and I was like this is a lot.
Yeah.
And then there were some
Like,
places that I
can
had
I have
been
a
to.
plantain?
No, I was at Boot Barn.
Oh.
It's a very different experience. Did not ask for a plantain. Um, and then there were like some other places where I saw people not wearing them, but I would say the majority of like employees were definitely wearing
Mm,
them. And then of course like public transit that's federally required. So,
sure.
um, the airport people are trying to wear them,
Yeah.
I guess.
Well.
But literally nowhere else. It was such a weird experience because living in the Bay Area, we actually just reopened last Thursday.
Mhm.
And well, in California reopened, subject to the county, whatever the county wanted to do.
Mhm.
My county is one of the counties that like agreed to go along with it, and also the county that I work in, and literally everybody still wears a mask. Like I have not seen anybody not wear a
Oh,
mask
really?
at all. Like if they're in a building, they're wearing a mask. And even in my neighborhood today, I was like walking around, I saw people walking on the street with a mask. Like it's such a different world here compared to where I was over the
Mhm.
weekend. And being in Arizona, it was such a strange experience seeing it just being in a different world is what it felt like. Like I
Mhm.
felt like I was in a different like
Yeah,
moment in
and then
time.
you come back to
Yeah,
California, and then you're just, like, back into the mix of, like, "Oh,
right.
yeah, this is what we're doing." And it's just it's like night and day, because
Yeah. Like,
that's
we're both dealing with the same exact situation, and where I live, we don't have as many issues with it,
yeah,
and yet it's like, I don't know. It was a really odd experience because it's like, I've been in situations during everything that, like, people aren't wearing masks, but, like, this one was especially different just because of clearly people have been living this way for a while,
yeah,
so they're still in normal life mode. And
yeah.
like I haven't lived in that in 2 years. So it was really interesting.
Yeah, we just had, the mask mandate get lifted on campus for me last week, and that was just
Hmm.
the threshold of students that are vaccinated and fully boosted and everything. It's
Right.
like 99% of everyone, and you have to go and submit it. Speaking of, I probably should do that. Uh
So you can have a
so
real lecture.
yeah, well, yeah, and then just being on campus, like, it's kind of like your choice kind of thing, but it's not
Yeah.
required. So
Hmm.
that was I had one of my first meetings the other day where we didn't have it. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, I mean, everyone in this area, it's kind of spread out, more rural, so there's really not a need for it. Um, People have kind of been just coasting for a while without using masks, and
Hmm.
seems to be okay. We never really had like high numbers just because of
Hmm.
the population density. But
Hmm.
yeah, going into that, you were pretty charged about the UK dropping all of their
I wouldn't say
restrictions.
charged. I
Be
just
like,
saw it.
I oh my god, I saw it and
Yeah.
wanted to talk
Oh
about it.
my god, I have to tell you. No, I just saw the news about the UK lifting all restrictions. Obviously, there's like tons of different perspectives on it, but I just
Mm,
thought it was interesting to know, and like I'm curious to see how this might continue.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's pretty wild. I don't know. It's like I don't feel like we're in that world just because where I live, it's none of us can even imagine that happening anytime soon because
right.
the counties that I live in, or the county that I live in, and not really, it's California because California is so big, so it's like hard to say
Mm,
like, oh, all of California feels, but like where I live in the Bay Area, but specifically my county, it's just like we're not in a rush to get to that point at all. I don't know. It's
yeah,
so interesting to see other places um just like kind of shoot for it. I don't know. Everybody here, from not everyone, but like so many people around me, like we're all just like very comfortable. Yeah, yes, we're like over wearing masks and shit. Like nobody wants to do that.
right.
But I currently work with the general population, so like I'm very comfortable with having them wear masks as long as possible, just because people are gross. Like I just wish people
Right.
had to wear
Oh,
masks all the time. You know,
yeah,
even without everything going on, like people are just fucking nasty, and like I would love for them to
of
continue
course.
um
Yeah, it'd be
staying
nice.
out of my personal. I just love the idea that people are now forced to give me my personal space
Yeah.
because I've always wanted 6 feet.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a big kind of factor in everything that it's like people are discussing, and it's okay.
Hmm.
Like I fully trust that you've done the right thing and gotten vaccinated or done a precaution in some way, but like still you're gross, I'm gross. Like I don't want to give you,
Hmm.
you know, any cold I get. So like
It's
let's just
like
do
it's not even
mass. It's not a
about giving. It's just like I just don't want to be around that. Like I just
Mhm.
don't want to be around people. I also, work in San Francisco where there are just so many fucking
I don't want to be around people.
strange. No, there's just so many strange people and like gross people, especially on public transit. It's just like, "Oh, just get away from me." Like it's such a great excuse to like not have people sit next to me on the train.
Mhm.
I actually get so irritated when people just assume that I'm comfortable with them sitting next to me
Mm.
and they just sit. Like if I'm gonna sit next to someone on the train, I ask them like, is it okay if I sit here? And I
Right.
rarely do that at this point, but some people, and it's typically like older people, will just sit right next to me without saying
Mm.
anything. I'm like, okay, fuck you. Like
Yeah.
I'm not interested in this. Um, but yeah, I will continue the social distancing as much as possible. That's just a life thing for me. That's all I've wanted was people to stay away from me
Yeah.
at all
I think
costs.
that's a good idea.
Hmm.
Well, I
I don't know
mean,
why I live in a populated area. I should probably live in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, where you can freely do rodeos and, do
Yeah.
whatever
Oh my god. Should I live in
whatever
Phoenix?
activities you're super
No.
into,
I don't. I don't want to do that. I don't want to drive. That's what it is.
Why you don't like driving?
I just don't want the obligation to do that. Like I
Mm,
enjoy being able to just like hop in a train or get in an Uber or whatever.
yeah.
It's
Well,
just so much
yeah, I
nicer.
wish I wish transit was better in
Yeah, period.
US. I just yeah, I mean, they had like plans when I was at school in Wisconsin to like do
Mhm.
some sort of I don't they called it like the bubble or something, or it was headed by Elon,
So
and
always
you know
plans. Oh
uh
yeah.
but it was some sort of system to get from like the the Twin Cities to Madison to Chicago to,
Mhm.
you know, somewhere in Ohio or
Mhm.
over to East Coast. And it was all like, oh, you could do this in an hour. Like you could
Mhm.
feasibly like wake up in Chicago, work in like Twin Cities, and then come back.
Mhm.
And I was like, that would be really cool comparative to
15
where we're
years
at, where
ago.
it's like, well, yeah, just literally at any point in time.
Yeah.
Um, Now it's like, okay, yeah, that
No,
takes
I
like,
mean, they said that 15 years ago, I'm sure.
oh no, this was 6, 7 years ago. But yeah,
Yeah.
nothing's happening. Instead, we went to Las Vegas and dug a tunnel. So there we go.
Yeah, we were supposed to have a maglev from San Francisco to Bakersfield to LA, like 5 years ago.
Which like
So,
that would even be nice because I don't
oh,
know
that would
how
be
many times you
incredible.
have driven through the deserts of California, but those
Yes.
are very,
Yes.
very long,
I mean, it's just a
long and
long
quiet.
drive. Like from
Yeah,
up here to down there, it's like what, at least 8 hours?
yeah,
Something
it's
like that. It's
6 to 8,
exhausting. And I'm
depending
not
where you're
even in
going.
at the like even near the
Right.
highest part of California. I'm in like this more central
Yeah.
median of California, and
Well,
it
yeah,
takes
and
that
it's just
long.
such a boring drive because it's
It's
just like
awful.
dark,
The faster drive
barren.
is so boring.
Yeah.
The
Right.
longer drive is beautiful. On the
Oh yeah,
coast, it's
yeah, yeah.
stunning. But,
100%.
15 hours later, not so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, maglev would be cool. I mean, a flight down to LA is like affordable enough, but it's like not great for the environment and
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Well,
And
it's
then you
just
have
a
to go in
pain.
through security and
Yeah.
all of it. All of it.
TSA pre-check.
I need to get
What does
that. I
that
really
mean?
need to get that. I was gonna get it for my trip last year, but I couldn't get an appointment in time. But after looking
Mm,
up pre-check, well, I want to get global entry specifically,
mhm,
but that you get pre-check with that. But yeah, thankfully security at um for my flight this weekend wasn't bad because I got there at 5 a.m. So
mhm.
it was still
Nice.
a lot busier than I thought it was gonna be, but it's quick.
Oh, and your roommate was driving you? Was that the case? And you didn't tell him tell him that the flight was so early?
Look, the
Look.
situation that happened was, well, I didn't plan on taking a flight that early, like no one does.
Sure.
But the difference between
You're
taking
like,
a
"Oh,
s-
$17 cheaper? I see you."
no, the difference between taking a 6 a.m. flight and like an 11 a.m. flight is like hundreds of dollars.
Mm,
So when your ticket in total is looking like $170, it's like,
mhm,
I don't really want to pay double that
right.
just for a few more hours. So when I was looking at another time and another airline on another day, I asked him if he'd be able to drive me, and he said yes. And then I ended up caving to a flight that my friend wanted me to get,
Mm,
because it just made the most sense for the time that we were staying. And I like sat on it for like almost 2 weeks before I told my housemate, like, "Hey, um, my flight's at 6 a.m." And the airport, I was flying out of SFO, and it's like normally it's like a 45-minute drive. I didn't really calculate how long it would be at that time of day.
mm,
But I was like, we have to leave at 4. And he was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I was like, "Yeah, no." Like
yeah.
that's the reality of the situation. He still said yes. I did have to wake him up though. I heard his alarm go off and him snooze it multiple times, and I was like, "Hey."
Rough.
But yeah. But yeah, it
But you
was
made
very
it.
accommodating. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, the drive was like 20 minutes. Not bad
That's
at all.
good. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what else have you come up with? You've been deep diving into Reddit. You find anything good?
Um, good? No.
Good? No.
Interesting? Maybe. Um, I mean, there's been a lot going on. I was kind of just like browsing Twitter and such as well. And apparently, Donald Trump's answer to Twitter has been
Mhm,
officially launched on Monday. Or was it today? Or was it Sunday? I don't know. It's been officially launched. It's called Truth Social. I attempted to make an account today, and I was unable to make an account. The link that or the email that I was sent from my email confirmation
mhm,
does not look like a real email. It looks like a fake email. And then when I open up the confirmation and register an account, it says failed to register your account. And I've tried it like 8 times. And the or the email confirmation took 4 hours for me to receive, and it goes straight to my spam. So there's a
You
lot
know, and
going on with
it's
that.
probably they're just overrun with people trying to make
Yeah,
accounts.
100%.
So,
And apparently the server went down within
oh,
like the first hour or something.
suspect and
So they're having a lot of issues.
yeah.
But I was very curious what it was going to look like. But TBD on that
Hmm.
one. But that's pretty fucking hilarious to me. And they're already banning certain Democrats from using the platform like
Oh,
automatically. Yeah,
nice.
because
That's good.
freedom of
That's
speech
what we
is
want.
what they
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
Good God.
So that's cool. And then in terms of in terms of Reddit, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to operate this. Like, I understand that it's just like complete madness. That I understand, but I don't know what is going on Reddit because there's so much going on
Yeah.
Reddit.
I think the best thing if anyone's trying to just dip their toe into Reddit is just to follow popular uh r slashes and go in and just like pick some good ones that you want to follow,
Mm,
create an account and just keep an eye on stuff. But I like to just browse some of the top news stories daily and then just scroll because you end up finding things. Like I said in previous podcasts, I'm kind of a lurker more than a poster on there, but there's some really great things and even some of the news stories that are coming out of like Russia, Ukraine. I know that's the hot topic of the
yeah,
day.
pretty
I
wild.
actually just had a assignment for school that was based around like cyber warfare, and someone was trying to claim that it wasn't occurring and that it's not a real thing. And it's like, well,
Cyber.
you
They
can't.
were saying cyber warfare was it,
Yeah, wasn't occurring,
or
and then I was yeah, they
or
were
wait, what wasn't occurring?
cyber warfare was not occurring in the world. It was not a thing, and
They
I was
said
just
that
like, "Well,
in your cyber. What class was this?
cyber warfare." Yeah.
Okay.
So it was it
Sorry,
was
that's the
like
part that I had to clarify. I was like, "Wait, are
yeah,
we
yeah,
talking about
so
Russia or?"
no,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
cool.
So, like,
No,
that's a great
yeah, yeah.
example
But I
of
just wanted to
where
clarify
we're
that this
at.
person sounds like a complete fucking idiot.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
ridiculous beyond belief that
So
someone
why are they
would
taking this
say that.
class?
No, it
Did you
was like
just
a it
drop
was
your
a
ring?
yeah, it fell off, whatever. It was a publication where some author was trying to claim that like it didn't exist, that it was all just like espionage, and it was just like you know not real and hyped up
Mm,
by the government to like. And I'm just like, okay, well, like now we have like use case like here's Russia attacking Ukraine with the biggest DDoS attack that ever happened. And if people aren't familiar, the distributed denial of service, they essentially just overrun your server with a
I was
bunch
gonna
of
say
communication pings to break it down so
cyber
it can't
warfare is
operate. Yeah,
definitely a thing.
I know.
Like
So it's really
I've seen
confusing
smaller
in these
uses of it.
times.
Like I've seen people get DDoS. Like
Yeah.
it's a thing.
Right. And I mean, I don't want to get hung up on all this type of stuff, but
You don't?
the Reddit I think is an amazing place to
Hmm.
get news from people that are like on the ground there. I mean, similar to how Twitter
Mm,
was where like you're kind of getting the like news updates of the moment.
sure.
Reddit has now been in that space. They have a whole, r slash like Ukraine where they're just talking about what's going on and like kind of the truth behind things. And that's something that hopefully I think is an important thing moving forward with a lot of these countries that are deciding to censor um,
Mm.
people. But we hop from Ukraine to then I just was talking to you about White Castle's employing robots in their kitchens instead of employees, and it's just like you bounce from all these different kind of news stories,
Mhm.
and hopefully they're sourced well. I mean, obviously people do research and check your sources and kind of make sure you're following the right news stories. But I think Reddit's a good place where a bit of the truth lurks out from the people that are involved under that kind of anonymous guise of having an account that might be like, Bananas 7 is now. the top expert on what's going on around the world or something, but
I want to
it's
be a
definitely an
top
interesting place.
top expert as the name Banana 7. It's a good
Yeah,
name.
exactly. Or, you can watch bees have fake top hats on,
That's a
or
real Reddit.
yeah, it, some of this
Real
stuff's
bees
insane.
fake top
Or,
hats.
you know,
Kind of
the
iconic.
the half submerged chairs in the water is an incredible
Well,
feed.
one subreddit that my housemate sent me was called r/true off my chest, and it's just like
Mhm.
a, I guess I would relate it to like an open anonymous journal where
Yeah.
people are not looking for judgment. I just realized many comments, how many comments are on some of these, which is kind of insane. But here's one that really stood out to me. A lot of these are very dark, so I would try to avoid them because they touch on very interesting subjects. But this one in particular stood out to me. It is titled I really enjoy picking big boogers out of my nose.
Oh
a,
boy.
a reading.
A reading.
I will now
Oh boy.
proceed to read this entry, and I quote: "Yes, you read that correctly. I recently moved to a different city away from the coast for some work, and I've noticed that the dry air has cleared up my sinus and dries up the mucus in my nose a lot. Hence, I have blown out some pretty big pieces of snot from my nose recently. However, for some odd and admittedly disgusting reason, I like the feeling of removing a big piece from my nose with my fingers. I don't know, it's weird, but whatever." End quote.
Yeah, that's
And now I
insanity.
would like to start reading the comments, which really just send this one over the edge for me. This other person commented, quote, when you pull a hard booger and it brings out the wet, goopy stuff out with it, the tickle, the sensation, oh my god, yes. End quote.
We need like a warning on this episode or
I
something for people that have like,
I There, and you know what's crazy is there's so many people commenting like, "Oh my god, I feel seen. I'm
yeah.
not the only one."
Oh
Like
yeah,
there's
that's
just this
that's
whole
true off my
tribe.
chest 100%. It's like the controversial, the
Yeah.
like kind of things you would keep in a closet type of skeleton, and oh, it's insane. But then there are some serious ones. Like I was talking to you recently about the one where the guy was saying that like dating for men is ridiculous on all of these sites,
Mhm.
where he edited his height from like 5'11" to 6'5" or something, and did a
Mhm.
little social experiment and got like, 30 matches the first day that he had
Oh,
this edit.
I see another post that is talking about the same issue.
Yeah. And then um he added his height back to his normal height and was not getting matched at all, and it was like just kind of where the culture was, but just kind of lamenting the fact that like it doesn't really matter anymore about, like you have to check these boxes in order to meet a certain standard. um
Mhm.
and that's kind of where True Off My Chest has been on Reddit, is just bad stuff or good, but
It's pretty insane. Um yeah, I mean that's
you
I can't
cannot.
I can't read that one.
All right. Well, let's just move on from that. You just attacked me with a ridiculous story.
I didn't tell you to
Um,
open it. I didn't
oh,
tell you to
well,
open it.
okay. You send me something or send whatever. It's there. It's
I
over
didn't
with.
send you anything. I
Yeah.
just I
Yeah.
just threw it in there. I definitely should have not have put it in that Discord channel.
No,
My bad.
you're good. So yeah.
um but a lot of these have, yeah, really dark undertones, but I'm just looking for the fun stuff. I was even looking at the conspiracy Reddit because I love a good, wild conspiracy, but so much of it is like of current events that's not really fun for me. I like the like dated stuff
Yeah.
that people come up with. Like I love the stuff about, how the government has been covering up aliens and shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
If anybody has any
We'll
of those, send them to
yeah,
me,
we'll find some
cuz
good stuff as we continue here. Um, but yeah, my main kind of goal with Reddit is just to kind of keep my I don't know, finger on the pulse of what's going on around the world, but get it from a direction where it's kind of truth over what you see in the headlines. So I think it's nice to hear from people. And it's like it's never perfect grammar or sometimes the language barriers are even brought down where people are using like Google Translate to create this story that's like half a page long and it's riddled with mistakes and whatever, but like you get the gist of it and it's really enjoyable to hear from people that you might otherwise not even be able to connect with. So good platform, um, in my opinion. So far, we'll see
Hmm.
where it goes. It's definitely growing in popularity where I feel like everyone's just kind of on it. Um, as you were saying, there's just hundreds of comments on silly posts about boogers. So
There was one that had 2,000 comments.
yeah,
It's pretty crazy.
there you
Speaking of growing platforms, I got my housemate on Discord today who does not play video games.
go.
And he looked at it and he was like, "Wait, this is amazing." I was like, "Yeah, it's like Slack for nerds. Like it's great."
Right.
And there's like nothing else that fills the niche right now for like more um I don't know.
Like
Or
hobby
let
based stuff or
Yeah, just like something that isn't businessy. Like
yeah.
it's great for it's a great like social platform in like the weirdest way.
And I think it doesn't have like the same barrier to entry that Slack has. Like Slack, like I don't
Not
know,
at all.
it's like a tidal wave of like annoyance of like notifications and things in your
Well,
face and like
Discord can be that.
oh yeah, but like you can mute that very quickly. But
Yeah.
just the like usability of it to just like join a server, click on a link, hop in, and then
Mhm.
it's like the dumbest memes are just like in all these chat channels, and then you can stream and you can do all these things that are just like I think more user friendly, where you have like really funny profiles and it's just more lighthearted.
Well, it's
That
because Discord isn't stuffy and hoity-toity like at
yeah,
all.
oh yeah. It's
Like
like
it
Slack's just trying to be a bit classy, and I think that's
well, it's
where
because it's for business, so it's trying
right.
to like impress and it's trying to be business focused and blah
For
blah
sure.
blah.
But, like, nothing really happens on it. Like, I mean, people communicate
No.
on it, but, like, not in the same way. Like, Discord, things move. Like
Well, because Discord allows room for creative input.
oh, yeah.
Like it allows the community to kind of grow with it. Whereas
Sure.
like Slack, it's I don't know, maybe it's because
That
Slack is being
happened
used in the
with,
business setting, but like
yeah.
but also Slack isn't like voice focused, which
Yeah.
they now have the option to host meetings in Slack, and that just sounds like an absolute fucking nightmare. Could you imagine being in a Discord for a business meeting? We've been in a Discord for
Yeah.
business meetings and they're
Sure.
awful. Just people
Yeah,
talking
for
over each
sure.
other constantly. It's not fun.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to have this similar thing that we did for Wars in New World
Just
where everyone
mute
gets a
everybody.
hot mute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, unless you're like a higher up leader type.
Could you imagine being in like at a company and it's the
Oh my
same
god.
type of people
Yeah.
from New
Oh, and
World?
then people, like, accidentally, like, being unmuted and, like, calling someone a jerk or or worse, Just,
Or they'd be
"Oh,
like,
didn't know."
can you repeat the whole first hour all over
Yeah.
again for me, please?" Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
God, no wonder
Um,
they play video games and they don't do anything else.
well, that's good that you got them on board. I forget what I was gonna oh, just that, everyone's trying to race for all the functionality in all of these apps,
Yeah.
like, whether it's
Whereas, like, Discord,
streaming
it's been, like,
or
one step at a time because it was kind of the
yeah,
first thing well, it's the
right.
only thing of its kind,
Yeah.
realistically, at this point, but it's just done one thing at a time, whereas, like, other things that are now trying to catch up
Mhm.
are, like, trying to have all the same things at the same time, but they don't have the ability to do that
Yeah.
or the engineers to do that.
I think it grew a lot in some of the earlier things in the year or even the past year with like the pandemic and the
Mhm.
retail investor craze. Like that
Oh,
was
for
huge.
sure.
There were like 100 discords that were created like
Mhm.
just on Reddit for all of the different things, and now people have gone through and created these communities based around their expertise or you
Mhm.
know hobbies in these areas for investing and gaming and all of these other free time type things. But I think it's gonna win for sure. I think they're just doing the right things. Weren't they like in talks about being acquired by Microsoft, just like everyone else?
I
That
hope not. I hope they don't.
yeah.
Like, do they need it? Do they need
No,
the funding?
they turned everything down. They got their
Perfect.
own
That's great.
uh yeah, I
Because like
guess
honestly,
valuation
all it
money.
all I would see happen is someone buys them and then tries to like keep the same feel, but like tries to
Right.
rebrand it and they try to like get more money out of it, and then
Hmm.
no one's gonna want to use it because someone else is gonna be like, oh, we're gonna start our own thing.
Yeah. I think that there's a huge problem with that, just in like features, and especially in well, in my world of like security features and
Hmm.
other automated things that are happening in technology. Like when you have one app or one company, like call it Microsoft, Amazon, any of these big sharks, grabbing at all these different platforms, you have this kind of event where they come in and install specifics for those operating teams, and it just becomes one bubble of the same thing, and
Yeah.
then it's very easy to break or very
Hmm.
easy to just like create vulnerabilities around it, to just say, okay, well, if I can get into this, well, now I can get into your bank account, your tax account, anything that I need just from this one instance. So I think it's really bad that there's not minds that are working to create the new kind of bright, future of apps. But who knows? You have Trump creating Truth Social or whatever,
God
whatever
bless.
that is, and maybe that'll be the shining star of just,
Could you imagine it becomes like a huge
it'll
thing?
probably become big, especially
I mean,
like
if it
like
works.
oh, like Facebook's going down the drain in some way now that they've turned to Meta and they're trying to
Hmm.
create the VR world.
They're trying really hard.
I'm sure there's a lot of people looking to find the next new app that you can post on that's only the truth.
Yeah.
That's only the truth. So we'll see what happens with that. We're definitely gonna investigate that a little more for anyone that is interested. Um,
Are
yeah.
are you guys interested?
Are
That's
you
the real
interested?
question.
We need
Yeah.
some feedback. That's
What
a big
what
thing.
I well, one thing that I was yeah, okay, perfect. That was a great segue. Were you
Yeah.
reading my mind? Because we
Yeah.
didn't talk about what I'm gonna bring up.
No. Oh, I have no idea.
No.
I've been gone.
Yeah, you've been with child.
Preggers.
What I was thinking today was, as I was inviting my housemate to the Discord, I was wondering if we should make a public Discord for people to like submit things or comment on, or
Sure. Why not?
all that fun stuff. I've had no
Yeah, or just they could even
I had
email
no
us,
question that you're gonna say no, but
right? Can't they
but
just
yeah.
email us? Or we create
Yeah, I
a
mean,
secondary email
we have
just
the
for
email on
people
the
interested?
Instagram,
Yeah.
which people are more than welcome to. I just feel like Discord might be more accessible to certain communities, but the email's
Yeah.
also
Sure.
a great choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
So the
And also
story
in
there was
Discord,
go to
go
Instagram, find our email, and send us some questions or things that you want to
yeah,
hear about. Um,
absolutely.
just because we can't cover it all. I mean, internet's a big weird
We
place,
can't do
and
it all, guys. We're only two
yeah,
people,
yeah.
and
I
Pat
mean,
has
we're
a
just gonna
child
keep,
now.
yeah, we're gonna keep trucking along. But if you find something cool or want us to touch on some weird thing you found, I'm sure we will give it a look. We can't make promises if
I
it's
would love
very cool.
viewer submitted topics or
Yeah,
questions.
that would be
That would
cool.
be really fun. But I figure Discord might be a good alternative just so there's like an active conversation too
Let's do
to
it. Spin that
to do
up
that.
and send it out.
Zippo.
Yeah,
Well, this was a fun episode.
yeah.
Very
It's kind
very
of just like a
relaxed.
catch up, current events, and then some weird stuff going
Hmm.
on in the world, and
And Sumo Maya.
that's right. Yeah. Loud, annoying DJ restaurant
Yeah.
in the dark. Sorry,
It
forgot that part.
literally, yeah, in the dark for sure. In a sweatsuit.
Yeah. Well,
Well, do you want
about
to
to
send
go
us
on
off?
kitchen nightmares.
Oh, I
Yeah,
hope so.
sure.
Okay.
Well, that's our episode 3, guys. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Rob, and you can join us on Instagram at the Strange Internet Pod on Instagram. Also has our email linked, so if you want to send us
That's
an
right.
email submission, either a question or comment or anything, you're more than welcome to. We also have our link tree that has all of our links to our streams. If you're watching on YouTube or you're just on our Instagrams, you can find where else we're hosted. But at the moment, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We also post the videos on YouTube. So if you're more of a visual person like myself, we are also on YouTube at the Strange Internet Podcast. But yeah, and then we'll have our Discord linked very soon, probably, by Tuesday when this is uploaded. So you'll be able to join our Discord and join us and have active conversations about all the bullshit that we talk about on here.
Right.
But thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll try to keep up on this weekly schedule, and thanks for listening. See you guys.
Bye.